Dear friends, greetings. We continue to inform you about what is happening on the Ukrainian front line. Kupiansk direction. Ukrainian armed forces regained lost positions near Tabayivka. Liman direction. Bilohorivka. The defense forces are under heavy attack from the Russians. With UAVs arriving every time, heavy artillery is operating, and the Russians are increasingly deploying reserves and setting up positions on both the eastern and southeastern flanks. And in this footage, you can see the results of the Russian army's offensive on Bilohorivka. The defense forces destroyed 14 units of armored vehicles on the approaches to the town. Terny. The tension is rising. The Russians decided to abandon more and more groups that have stable positions on the eastern flank, which allows them to attack more fiercely each time. The defense forces repel the attacks and burn 2 tanks. A CV-9 Neo 4OC infantry fighting vehicle works on Russian positions, east of the village of Terny, Donetsk region. Berestov. The defense forces drove the Russians out of a certain section of the front on the northwestern flank. However, the enemy does not give up and begins to attack this area again. Bakhmut, direction. Ivanivska. The Russians advanced in the town and on the flanks. The Russian armed forces also advanced north of Bodanivka. Avdiivka, direction. Orlivka. The Russian Federation's armed forces in Orlivka advanced to a distance of 114 km in the central part of the village and on the flanks. A tank of the 25th Brigade destroys a Russian infantry fighting vehicle that was moving towards Orlivka. Russians also advanced to the north of Tonenka. Footage of the destruction of Russian infantry by night, FPV Kamikaze, Stepove Donetsk region. Ukraine has surprisingly weak defenses west of Avdiivka, the New York Times reports. The newspaper publishes satellite images of Ukrainian fortifications, which it calls sparse and basic. These trench lines lack many of the additional fortifications that would help slow down Russian tanks and protect main roads. The new positions outside Avdiivka are not comparable in scale to Russian fortifications in the south. The Russians started building defenses 6 months before the Ukrainian army's offensive, while Ukraine started to address these issues only 3 months ago, as it had previously expected to attack only. In addition, there is a lack of money and labor. The delays in building fortifications mean that Ukrainian troops will now have to reinforce their defensive lines while under fire from the Russian army, making the task much more difficult, the article says. Marinka direction. Novomikhailivka. The advance of the armed forces of the Russian Federation in the southern part amounted to 1.52 km. Zaporizhzhia direction. Robotin. The Ukrainian armed forces advanced on the flanks and liberated a stronghold in the south. The advance amounted to 3.28 km. In this footage, you can see how a night FPV kamikaze destroys a Russian MTLB with a 2M3 shipboard anti-aircraft gun mounted on it. The town of Oleshki, Kherson region. That's all the information we have for now. Dear friends, please do not forget to like this post, as it will help to spread this information.